Good morning, Broken Bow UMC. We are so excited to join you. We are several Micah Core interns with the conference. My name is Sam Redfern. I'm originally from York, Nebraska.
My name is Sheikha Olenga. I am from Congo DRC.
My name is Abby Coedge, and I'm from Lenexa, Kansas.
So we are going to share a screen here and talk a little bit about Micah Core and also what mercy and justice looks like for the church today. So Micah Core is an internship program for college-age students, and it's under the Mercy and Justice umbrella of the Great Plains Conference. And obviously, the internship has looked a little bit different for us this summer. We've been working remotely, so we haven't been traveling as much as they usually do, but we've still had a great opportunity to participate in some of the goals of Micah Core, and those are to grow in our spiritual walk with God, to link faith and social justice action, to learn from experts in Nebraska, Kansas, and Washington, D.C., and strengthen our leadership skills, and then connect with great United Methodists across our conference, like all of you. So the United Methodist Church has had a long commitment to justice since its founding, and we actually have something called the social principles, and this is kind of an outline guide on the church's stance on many current issues that are happening in the world. And they're doing some global updates to the social principles, and the revised version of them will be available hopefully to be voted on in 2021 when the General Conference meets again. And those social principles are included in our Book of Discipline as a church. And here's just a small excerpt from the Book of Discipline talking about the church's commitment to justice. The UMC believes God's love for the world is an active and engaged love, a love seeking justice and liberty. We cannot just be observers, so we care enough about people's lives to risk interpreting God's love, to take a stand, to call each of us into a response, no matter how controversial or complex. Additionally, the church has a call of justice in our baptismal vows that read, "Do you accept the freedom and power God gives you to resist evil, injustice, and oppression in whatever form they present themselves?" So clearly the church has a commitment to justice that we as Micah Core have been learning about and learning how that looks in today's world. And if we go to the next slide here, we will collectively share our litany to our social creed. So if you're comfortable, wherever you may be in this moment, to join me in saying this creed. Today is the day. God brings good news to the poor, proclaims release to the captives, gives sight to the blind, and sets the oppressed free. And so shall we. So now Sheikha is going to talk a little bit about the scripture that we have been working with this summer.
Hi, so our scripture today was taken from Micah 6:8, which is also our mission when it comes to like what Micah Core represents itself. Like as a Micah Core internship program, we stand by the Micah 6:8 scripture, which says, "He has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God." And today's message was trying to focus and understand the difference between mercy work and justice work. And this scripture reminds us that as a church, it's not just us focusing on mercy work, it's also doing justice work. And in the Bible, we have two spaces where an example of mercy and justice work are. The first one that we talk about can be found in the book of Luke 10:25-37, which is the story of the Good Samaritan. And as many of us may know that story from like Sunday school, and the story talks about a man who was robbed and injured by somebody, and many people walked by him as they saw an injured man, and most of them disregarded him. And many of those were community members as well as religious leaders. But a Good Samaritan saw a man in need and stopped and and took care of the person, and they did that without expecting anything in return. This is an example of what mercy works looks like, is to give some kind of relief to the person. An example of justice work is found in the Exodus story and the Moses story, which we all know that Moses was born a Jew, but was raised in a privileged Egyptian court. And as he was growing up, he saw injustices around him, and he could not ignore the injustices and what was happening. So when he saw the abuse, he committed when he saw the abuse committed to the slave, he committed a crime and killed a slave master And as he realized like that wasn't the right thing to do, he reacted by committing crime, and he ran away from Egypt and went into the wilderness. And in there, he encountered God. And as he had that encounter with God, he was a changed man. And God sent him to go back to Egypt and change the system. And when he went back to Egypt, he confronted and challenged the Pharaoh and the empire. And for him, he could have easily gone back to Egypt and say, you have slaves, can you give them like a free day for them to like pray to their God? Can you give them Saturday off so they can pray, or Friday afternoon to Saturday off so that they can pray to their God? But he did not do that. He did not just ask for things to get better. He asked for freedom, which is an act of justice. Justice work is when you change the system. It's not just making things better for the community, it's making sure like that doesn't happen again. And as we all know, that wasn't easy, and it wasn't a quick task. As we saw in the story of Moses, it took 10 plagues to be able to get to the point where the Pharaoh agreed to like let Moses, God's people, go. And as he did that, justice prevailed, and that's an act of justice.
So talking more about what mercy and justice mean in our world today, just a couple of examples. An example of mercy would be donating to a local food pantry, or helping the homeless, or any other sort of short-term act of service, maybe community service. An example of justice would be kind of like recently, there was a student policy that came out last week that negatively impacted international students, and so people signed petitions to get that repealed. And all of those actions ended with ICE deciding and the government deciding to rescind the policy, barring international students from staying in the country. So that would be more an example of justice, because it's a little bit more holistic than mercy. So mercy and justice both fall under God's call, specifically in Micah 6:8. So mercy would be, again, temporary relief, although yes, relief is nice, it is temporary, and love and kindness through charity. And justice would be long-term development and liberation and reform by attacking the issue at its root. So some things that we can all do to sort of as a call to action are learn by educating ourselves on social justice issues and listening to stories from people with lived experience of those struggles. We can organize and create opportunities to engage our church and community in justice work through partnering with local nonprofits or starting campaigns on specific issues that address the root cause of the issue. And we can advocate and push for change by speaking with representatives and other community leaders and using people power to make change that way. We just want to say thank you for giving us the time to come and share with you all. In these times of struggle and crisis, this work of mercy and justice and the church community is especially important. We will definitely be praying for your community during this time. And again, we would like to thank Broken Bow United Methodist Church and the Great Plains Conference for your continuous spiritual and financial support of the Micah Core internship program.